Hi, everybody. This is Dave Jones with Storm Center Communications and GeoCollaborate. It's Friday, August 15th, 2025. This update's for the All Hazards Consortium, the sensitive information sharing environment where we share information across platforms so we can keep everybody on the same page, getting ready for any response initiatives that are underway because of threatening, severe, or extreme weather. This update is on Hurricane Erin. Yes, it is a hurricane. And I'm going to touch on that tropical investigation that we had earlier today in the Southwest Gulf. The good thing is, it's not there. It's a batch of showers and thunderstorms. I'll show you that in more detail here in just a minute. But let's go to the main event, and that is Hurricane Erin. Right now with 75-mile-per-hour winds. It looks better on satellite right now, doesn't it? It's getting that circular motion and more of the convection that you can see around the center. There is the center right here. And you can see there is some dry air. Dry air could be sucked in and get around it. So we don't expect Erin to rapidly intensify over the next 24 hours because of some of this air getting in. As a matter of fact, it is over warmer waters. Talked about that yesterday. You can see the GOES satellite data. We can turn on sea surface temperatures through an infrared channel and then overlay the clouds on top of that. You can see the northern Leeward Islands here where there are tropical storm watches in effect. And you can see what's going on. The circulation is expanding. There's also thunderstorms way out ahead of it in some of those outer bands. But I want to do something here because the National Hurricane Center mentioned it. I noticed it earlier as well. And we've been watching it and talking about it during these updates. It's the Saharan dust layer. The Saharan dust has been north of Erin for many, many days, even when it came off the west coast of Africa near the Cabo Verde Islands. And I can turn off the sea surface temperature data. I'm going to do that right now, and I want you to notice something. Can you see it? Look at this right in here. This is Saharan dust, this darker looking cloud. That's dust in the atmosphere, and some of that dust is getting sucked in to Erin. There's also some dry air. You can see that because you can see through the clouds. Very dense overcast right here. That's where the core of the hurricane force winds are, 75 miles per hour. And then storm force winds extend outward from that, and tropical storm force winds out a little further than that. So let me show you what it looks like a little bit closer as far as Erin's concerned. We've been watching the mesoscale sector. Remember, that's a sector that the GOES satellite can zero in on when it has a particular area of interest. And the National Weather Service can call up NESDIS, the satellite operations folks, and say, hey, we need a sector over this storm. We want to watch this over the next several days. And usually they comply and they put it over this sector. So I'm going to go closer here and show you what it looks like from the standpoint of the 1 minute satellite imagery. Wow. Now I have this combined satellite channel turned on. I'll turn off the infrared part of the data right now. This is imagery every 1 minute. You can see the time code I have down there in the lower right. And that's what we're looking at. We're looking right here at the center of the storm. The Hurricane Hunter aircraft have reported that Erin has tried really hard to form an eye at mid-levels and at the surface. And it's probably there, but it keeps getting overcast. Central dense overcast exists, so we can't see an eye forming. But the airplanes that are flying through the core of the storm, those Hurricane Hunter heroes from NOAA and the 53rd Weather Squadron from the U.S. Air Force Reserve, are flying through the storm and around the storm right now. You want to take a look at it? Because we are tracking them live, and I want to show you what it looks like in GeoCollaborate. Okay, so let's go over to GeoCollaborate right now. There is the active missions going on right now. This one here, the salmon one, that's Miss Piggy. Miss Piggy is a P3 aircraft, 4 engines, and this is a workhorse of the Aircraft Operations Center for NOAA and the hurricane hunters. They are penetrating the center right now as we speak at 5:46 p.m. Eastern Time. And look at this pattern out here, the yellow track. That is the NOAA Gulfstream 4, the G4, that their job is to fly at a higher altitude. So even though it looks like here, as I'll zoom in, it looks like the G4 is going to run into the C-130 with the trajectories here. Don't worry about that at all. The G4 flies at 40 to 45,000 feet. So they are way up there, and they're taking measurements around the environment from which Erin has to grow and breathe and suck in, right? So they're flying over some of this Saharan dust up here. I can drag this up here. There's some Saharan dust up here. The G4 is probably seeing it flying at their altitude. And so they're sampling the environment. Remember, I showed you the flight plans yesterday. You can go back and look at that video. It's really cool. And we're putting flight plans in each and every day to help support some NOAA activities. But this is Miss Piggy flying at about 8,000 feet. And that is going to continue its mission for the next several hours as it does its flight pattern and does its clover. As a matter of fact, let me see if I can turn on that flight pattern right now. And I'll do that for the flight plans, and I'll turn on, here we go. So there is the pattern that looks like it's going to fly. Let's take this full screen here so you can see what it looks like. Here we are, full screen now. I'll take this up and over here. So this is the flight pattern that the P3, Miss Piggy, is going to fly. Why is it off? Why is it not directly in line? We talked about this yesterday. Well, because they have to estimate where the center of the storm is going to be. And they thought maybe this time yesterday it was going to be in this position. But look, it's back here, back here. So the storm is flying, or the plane is flying in this pattern. It's still going to be these kind of points, but it's going to be offset so it can match the flight plan, but shifted so they fly through the center of the storm, which is really very cool and complex. Here are the tropical storm watches in effect. Remember, we talked about those yesterday, those tropical storm watches, and they're continuing to be in effect. They may be changed to tropical storm warnings. Remember, these are the northern Leeward Islands. So we're talking about right here, Antigua and Barbuda. Right to the northwest is Anguilla. That's a very small one. And the British Virgin Islands over here. And we also have Montserrat down here. So Montserrat is down a little bit further. So no tropical storm watch there. Here's the thing. Even though tropical storm watches are in effect for these areas and not these just to the south, I would prepare, if I were in places like St. John's, to experience some tropical storm force winds. And also over towards the U.S. Virgin Islands. Okay, like right in here, U.S. Virgin Islands right here. This area is likely to see, so this is St. Croix right here. This area is likely to experience some tropical storm force winds in gusts. Also in Puerto Rico, look at this now. You have a flood watch in effect. That is because we talked about this yesterday as well. This storm, even though it's forecast to move to your north, has outer bands and it has winds that are going to start blowing pretty strong from the north, hitting those mountains, going up into the moist atmosphere and causing very heavy torrential rains. Puerto Rico, plan for flooding. It's going to happen. Even though there's a flood watch in effect, there's no flood warnings because flood warnings don't get issued until the rain starts falling. The National Weather Service in San Juan can issue rainfall estimates based on the Doppler weather radar they have there, and they will issue the warnings. But be sure that you're preparing for mud flows, mudslides, and flash floods. If you're susceptible to that in Puerto Rico, when it just rains heavy, you've got a tropical storm, force winds, and a hurricane that's going to pass to your north. I'll back out here just a little bit just so you can get an eye for the size of the storm. And you can see there the satellite imagery just updated. And this is the path they're flying right through now. I'm going to turn off the flight plan for right now, just to get that out of the way, just so you can see these two planes doing their environmental defense dance by gathering critical data so numerical weather prediction can be more accurate. We have to have this data. We don't have people living out here to gather data. We don't have balloons up here, although there is a company called Windborne Systems that has balloons at very high altitude that can drop sondes. That's pretty cool. We'll have to talk about them later. But the airplanes are the best way to get the most accurate data into the National Hurricane Center, into NOAA's Environmental Modeling Center, so it can be processed. It can really be quality controlled and put and assimilated into the models. That is why I think we'll see some fine adjustments to the hurricane forecast over the next several days, starting tonight around 11 o'clock when this data can get assimilated into the models. So by either 11 o'clock tonight or the 5 a.m. update tomorrow morning, we may see a higher level of confidence exuded from the National Hurricane Center when they talk about the forecast. And so let's do this just for another minute or so. Look at these buoys. These are drifters, SVPB drifters from Scripps Oceanographic Institute, 1015 millibars, so that's not too low. And the water temperature, 84.76 degrees. 84.76. So that is pretty warm, and it's something that could cause quite a bit of intensification because it's potential energy. Out ahead of it, look out here, 84 or almost 85 degree water temperature. So we have the warm waters. What we might also have is a little bit of wind shear when the storm gets up in this area. So that might knock it for a tiny little bit of a loop. But I think it's going to be getting its act together so quickly up in this area. A little bit of wind shear might knock it a little bit, but it might say, no, I'm going to take over from here. Because Erin is forecast to become a major hurricane north of the Dominican Republic. Needless to say, between this point and over here, the winds are going to intensify. You won't get hurricane force winds in Puerto Rico and the northern Leeward Islands, which is terrific, but you may get winds of 39 to 73 miles per hour or 74 miles per hour. And that is a tropical storm force wind gusts with very heavy rain showers from these bands when they rotate around. You're also going to get very large swells from the waves. They're going to be emanating from this system. I'm going to show you here in just a minute. The wave forecast, waves up to 40 feet in this part of the Atlantic when it gets up here, and it really winds up as a Category 3 hurricane. So I'll show you that here shortly. Here are the two planes. You can see them updating. This is updating in near real time. About every couple of minutes, we're pulling coordinates from these missions. And it's really quite incredible. These two planes flying at once. Now, Kermit, the green one, that's a mission that they flew earlier today and returned back to Barbados. They're getting their dinner. They're resting. They'll be back out tomorrow flying another mission into Erin up this direction. I have those flight plans too, but it's not important right now. So as we move up here, we have a lot of open ocean. I want to go back to the satellite loop and show you what it looks like, because remember, this is the 1 minute satellite imagery. And I want to just go back over and sort of overlay the flights from this 1 minute imagery. You can see this in GeoCollaborate, and there they are flying right now. So we have the G4 and also Miss Piggy, and we have the hurricane with its dense central overcast starting to increase in intensity. Now, here's what I want to do. I'm going to take this wide. I want to bring Erin over here so you can see. Here comes the sunset, the Terminator line. We see that every day around this time, thank goodness, because the Earth is a sphere. But look, before it disappears, look at all this dust. This is all dust from the Sahara Desert, and it's being entrained a little bit into Erin. But when Erin starts to increase in intensity like it is now, get stronger, it's going to create its own little bubble and say, nope, I'm not going to entrain any more dry air. I'm going to try to build my own bubble, and with my own relative humidity and high dew points and things like that, and grow on my own. But this will become a factor in maybe slowing its rate of intensity. Okay, so let's do this. Turn the sea surface temperature data back on. You can see it's heading into warmer waters in this area, as we mentioned, and really, I'll just call them hot. Hot waters up here off the Bahamas, well off into the Atlantic Ocean. So what is the status? Here we go. Hurricane Erin, the 5 o'clock advisory from the National Hurricane Center. Erin is moving west, northwestward, and forecast to rapidly strengthen. It's located right now 365 miles east of the northern Leeward Islands, 18.9 north, 57.6 west, with maximum sustained winds of 75 miles per hour. That is a Category 1 on the Saffir-Simpson scale, and the minimum central pressure detected by Hurricane Recon, 993 millibars. So you see that pressure continually going down, but look what hasn't wavered at all. The west-northwest movement at 17 miles per hour. So the islands there in the northeast Caribbean, you're seeing an increase in clouds. You're probably getting some showers moving through, and maybe some stronger wind gusts as well. So the weather for the next several hours is going to go downhill as Erin moves to your north, but those spiral bands do impact you. And I made the islands here black so you could see them a little bit better through the satellite imagery. Here are those northern islands that are going to catch some tropical storm force winds. Here is Puerto Rico. Here is St. Croix, that little dot right there. We can get a little bit closer. There is St. Croix. And so we also have a number of islands just to the east of Puerto Rico. This is Vieques, this one right here. And then we have British Virgin Islands. So we have St. John. We have right in this area. So the British Virgin Islands are even more likely to get tropical storm force winds in the next 48 hours as Erin intensifies, and also the wind field expands. Okay, enough of that. Now I want to turn to some forecast products and show you what it looks like from the standpoint of GeoCollaborate. Okay, so I'm going to widen out just a little bit. Here we go. Whoops, let me pick GeoCollaborate here. There we go. So I'm going to widen out and show you the path and the forecast that the National Hurricane Center just issued at 5 o'clock. And there's a lot of information in here, and I'm going to turn some things off and explain a couple of things. But you can see the path. This is the hurricane. These are tropical storm force symbols. And then it became a hurricane earlier today. So this is Category 1 hurricane. It's still a Category 1. Right in this area is the likelihood or the probabilities of experiencing tropical storm force winds. You can see that it is forecast to recurve off the coast of the United States and just to the west of Bermuda. Okay, so that is good news. What we're looking at and what we're very concerned about is if the storm continues on a west-northwest track and doesn't turn north in this area, maybe turns north in this area or this area. And if it does that, it'll come closer to the Bahamas and closer to the Outer Banks of North Carolina. And we're not talking until Tuesday into Wednesday next week. So those of you on the Outer Banks now, enjoy it, have fun, be prepared. You have rip currents that are going on from about south of Nags Head, south of there, all the way around to Cape Hatteras. Very high rip current risk right now, and that's only going to increase between now and next week. The waves are going to slowly get bigger as we approach Monday, Tuesday, and of course Wednesday next week. But this is what I'm concerned about. This is the cone of uncertainty, and the storm could move along the westward edge of this cone. If it does that, we may see tropical storm force winds in part of the eastern Bahamas, and we may see tropical storm force winds along the Outer Banks and eastern North Carolina. It's a long shot, but look at this. The 10% area for winds is now touching. This is less than 5%, but the 10% chance is now touching the Outer Banks. That is concerning. It's not enough, and we're not close enough to this period of time for any sort of watches to be issued. But just know the conditions are going to go downhill, and you're going to notice it first in the waves. The intensity of the waves, the longer waves are going to arrive. We're going to tell you about this over the weekend. And then you'll get more storm-related waves when the storm gets up in this area early next week. Okay, so let's get closer because I want to time out the winds and when they might arrive. These white dots here, don't worry about those. These are very small earthquakes. We're monitoring streaming earthquakes every minute from the USGS so we can talk about anything major that happens. So here are the winds, the tropical storm force winds, and when they're most likely to arrive. So look, here's St. John's right here, and over to the north as well, we have Anguilla. So Anguilla right here. Looks like tropical storm force winds will arrive for you Saturday around noon. So tomorrow around noon, expect tropical storm force winds. Could be earlier, could be a little bit later, but that's a general time. And then passing through the islands here by the afternoon. Okay, so this is when the onset is going to happen. It doesn't mean they're going to stop right at this next line. This is just the start of tropical storm force winds. Okay, Puerto Rico. If you see tropical storm force winds, when might they arrive? We're talking Saturday evening. This is Saturday at 8 p.m. There's a lesser of a chance of you seeing sustained tropical storm force winds. If the Weather Service thought you'd see sustained tropical force, you'd have a tropical storm watch right now. Right now, the big issue for Puerto Rico is rain and intensity of rain. That's why a flood watch is in effect right now. And that will be for the duration of this storm. So passing through Puerto Rico around 8 p.m. So that means 8 p.m. onward. So 9, 10, 11, 12, 1 in the morning, Sunday. You could have these strong gusty winds, and I think they could persist through the day on Sunday as the back end of this storm kind of whips you with those outer bands, and the winds still create those upslope rainfall conditions, which could be very intense. And then approaching the Dominican Republic, it looks like Sunday in the morning into early afternoon. And then this is the highest likelihood where tropical storm force winds are likely to happen. And what I want to do here is I want to click on this point. This is the 36-hour forecast valid at 2 o'clock in the morning on Sunday. So this is Sunday morning. We're talking about a Category 3 hurricane. Right now we have a Category 1. So we're talking about a Category 3 hurricane from this point right here to this point right here. So we are going to have likely rapid intensification in this area. Right here between here, I'm not so sure. We'll see that the forecast for the intensity 85-mile-per-hour winds by 2 o'clock tomorrow morning. So that's a decent amount of intensification. You can see right through here, this is the hurricane force wind area, radius of maximum winds for hurricane force winds. And this outer part is tropical storm force winds. Okay. So what I want to show you now is as the storm moves a little bit further off the coast of the Caribbean islands here, but out into the Atlantic, look at this. 130-mile-per-hour wind forecast, 2 o'clock in the afternoon on Sunday. And then by 2 a.m. on Monday, 140-mile-per-hour hurricane, folks. We're talking about a Category 4 hurricane in this part of the Atlantic Ocean. That and 145 miles per hour here. We don't get to Category 5 until 156 miles per hour, but this is going to be a large storm. As a matter of fact, the National Hurricane Center thinks, and I do too, that it's going to increase in size, and the forecast of the radius of maximum winds may be too small. So they have it back here on the 19th, about 140 mile per hour winds, a very strong Category 4 hurricane. That is going to throw a lot of waves towards the southeast coastline. That's going to throw a lot of waves towards Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, and particularly the Outer Banks. So I'm very concerned about the uncertainty, if you will. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to turn off the probability of tropical storm force winds. I'm going to turn off the arrival times because I just want to talk about the radius of maximum winds. Okay, so here we are right now. There's the radius of maximum winds. That little dot, hurricane force. Out in here, storm force winds, 50 knots. And down here, out here, tropical storm force winds. The other good thing you can notice, look where the strongest winds are in relation to the center of the storm, to the north, the northeast, northwest quadrants of the storm. As long as they stay out here, that's great. That sustained wind won't make it to the islands. But the National Hurricane Center anticipates that this is going to grow in size. And I'm going to show you that visually. Here is the radius of maximum winds right now, and I want to turn on the forecast for the maximum wind radii. So here you go. What does this mean? This is the forecast, and I'm going to turn off the weather radar data right now just to get these lines out of the way so we can uncomplicate things. Here's a small craft advisory for San Juan. That's going to go up to probably a storm warning, definitely a gale warning as the storm gets closer, probably pretty soon. But look how small the wind field is here now. And as it starts to mature and become a Category 2, 3, 4 hurricane, the winds become more concentric around the storm itself. And look how broad the wind field gets up here on Monday and Tuesday. The larger the wind field gets, the more water it's going to push towards the coastal areas of the East Coast and down towards the Caribbean islands on their north shores. So we could see major wave action impacting the shoreline. For sure, the waves are going to slowly increase in size, and rip currents are going to be a deadly phenomenon. Please, if you're going to the coastline, do not swim where the beaches are unguarded. It's going to be too dangerous. This is going to be a very strong undertow and a very strong rip current that's going to persist starting tomorrow, well into next week, probably well to the end of next week. So if you're going to the Outer Banks this week, use extreme caution. You'll probably see red flags all up and down the Outer Banks. And don't think you're strong enough that you can just swim against it. These currents are going to be deadly strong. Tire you out and leave you out there, and you won't be able to get help if you're swimming where nobody can see you. Okay, so what I've displayed here is the wave forecast from NOAA. This is from the GFS model. So the GFS is tending to stay a little further east than the official forecast of the Hurricane Center. And some consensus models are bringing the storm further to the west. So when you see this wave forecast, don't think, oh, hey, no problem. Imagine it shifted a little bit further to the west. And I want to start advancing this. We're starting this off here today, which is this morning around 8 o'clock. And I'm going to take this in and look. Can you find Erin? This is just a picture of the wave heights. This on the outer part is 12 foot, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23-foot waves around the center of the storm. And watch as we progress this through into tomorrow. So this is tomorrow morning. This is Sunday morning at 8 a.m. And this is Sunday afternoon at 2 p.m. And this is Monday morning at 12 a.m. Look at these waves. We're up to 30-foot waves here generated by this hurricane. The Bahama Islands are going to get tremendous amount of wave action, maybe some local inundation from that wave action during periods of high tide. And the waves are already going to start to set up here along the Outer Banks down to South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida. These wave heights might be 2 to 3 feet, maybe 4 feet. And then this is 5 and 6. You can see the color code down the bottom. Whoops, no, you can't. You can't see the color code. Sorry about that. But trust me, I'll describe what the blue is. This light blue is 5 to 6 foot. We get into green, that's 7 to 8 foot. And then look, here's 10, 11, 12, and it's labeled. So we're going to continue this on into Monday. So this is Monday afternoon, Monday evening, Tuesday morning. Look at this, how it expands. Tuesday morning at 8 a.m. Look at these waves, folks. We're talking 40-foot waves generated by this hurricane around the center and throwing waves up to 12 to 15 feet towards the coastline. Now, here's the other good piece of news. We have that ship out there from UNCW, University of North Carolina, Wilmington, that are deploying wave drifters out here. They'll be back before it gets rough, and they'll be safe because, remember, this is now Tuesday, and we'll be able to measure these waves, and we'll be able to tell you what is happening with these waves as Erin gets closer. And so we'll continue on into the 20th. This is the night of the 19th, okay, into the 20th at 8 in the morning. Look at this. We exceed the domain here of this wave forecast, but look at this. This is 12 to 15-foot waves just offshore of the Outer Banks, and they're going to be pounding, absolutely pounding the Outer Banks of North Carolina as this storm goes by. Now, keep in mind what I said a few minutes ago. The GFS is a little further east with its forecast than the official forecast of the Hurricane Center. So imagine this shifted a little bit further west, which takes these large waves further to the west. That's going to cause a great concern for emergency managers, vacationers, and people who live along the coastline. This wave threat will continue up the coast to Virginia, Southeast Virginia, to coastal Maryland, Delaware, and New Jersey. This is going to be the story next week with I'll probably describe them as monster waves, and you'll probably see a lot of surfers trying to go out there in Maryland and Delaware and New Jersey, and it's going to be too dangerous for surfers. The rip currents are just going to be phenomenal. Okay, now quickly, I want to talk about this almost disturbance that was in the Gulf that moved pretty quickly today. We had the Air Force Hurricane Recon mission fly into this area. They didn't find any circulation whatsoever, so they canceled the resulting flight or the planned flight that was supposed to go in there this evening. And you can sort of see here that this has kind of moved onshore already. That is just a little low pressure system with some showers and thunderstorms. As a matter of fact, I'll show you this. Let's show you this full screen. You can see it moving in there. There's some residual thunderstorms and gust fronts. That looks pretty cool. But I want to show you the Doppler radar data down in Texas. And here we go. Here's Brownsville, and look at this. Really not much in the way. There's some heavier thunderstorms, not even really producing any flash flood warnings from the National Weather Service. So that's great news. And also what we see down here is a circulation. There's some kind of circulation. So it was a very weak low pressure system, but this is going to move on inland, not really going to cause any problems, just some scattered showers and thunderstorms at the beaches, and the water might be a little bit churned up. But that is no longer an issue. We're not concerned about any tropical development here around South Texas. Okay, it's forecast time, and I want to show you the information in the GFS model. I don't want you to get too concerned about what you're going to see quite yet, because we want to see consistency in the model runs. I say that because you can see here Hurricane Erin. This is Hurricane Erin right here. And you'll see it come up and move up and do a recurve, which is great news. And we hope that happens. We're very concerned about the impacts along the coastal East Coast and also in Bermuda. But we are watching some potential additional development off the African coast. And I'm going to put this into motion. So let's watch Erin. You can see Erin move to the north of the islands. That's great. We will have impacts. Puerto Rico, plan on flash flooding. You have that flood watch in effect right now, and you have an awesome staff there in the San Juan Weather Service Forecast Office that are there 24/7, 365 for you. The storm is going to continue to move to the west-northwest and make a recurve. So that's good news, and be out in the Atlantic, the warm waters of the Atlantic becoming quite intense, and the wind field is going to increase. So we're talking about here Monday night. We're out here on Monday night. We just talked about that with the wind field forecasts. And then by Tuesday afternoon, we're not only monitoring Erin, but we're also monitoring potential development of another tropical system. And this one has the meteorological community, at least the Hurricane Center, Hurricane Research Division, we here at Storm Center, concerned enough that we're going to be monitoring this very closely. Because as we take this further into the future and Erin plagues the East Coast and Bermuda, we have another tropical system that looks like it's developing and is going to take more of a westward track. Why would it do that? Well, Erin is following the path of least resistance. It's following a trough of low pressure here that created a weakness in this high pressure and this high pressure region over here. So it's following up in that area, and it's going to recurve out into the ocean. But when you have a strong low pressure system like Erin, and it's moving up, that high pressure system is going to kind of want to wrap around it. And you can see it kind of nudging behind Erin and high pressure building to the south of Erin. Well, that building high pressure system is going to keep this developing tropical system on a more westward track. And you'll see what I mean here when I put this into motion. So here we go out into Thursday morning. And you see this developing. This is probably either a tropical storm or a hurricane at this point next week. And we're going to continue this into motion while Erin exits into the North Atlantic. This one develops pretty rapidly and basically moves a little bit further south than Erin did. And now we're talking about Saturday next week. So we're talking about not tomorrow, Saturday, but Saturday, August 23rd. And I'm not going to take it any further than Saturday afternoon at 2 o'clock because it's just fantasy land, right? We don't know that this is actually going to develop. We're concerned about it. Several models are showing that this could be developing. But since this has the potential of doing a more southerly track and impacting more areas like Puerto Rico and South Florida, perhaps maybe into the Gulf of Mexico or along the southeast coast, we're going to stop it here, and we're going to gather more information and tell you what we think is going to happen perhaps on Sunday or into Monday when we see more consistency with the model run. But while we have Erin here, we're concerned about Erin, and it looks like the tropics are active now. Okay, so what are my key messages for you as you watch this video on this Friday evening or perhaps Saturday morning? Heavy rainfall is going to start tonight through Sunday across the northern Leeward Islands, the Virgin Islands, and Puerto Rico. This may lead to isolated and locally considerable flash flooding and urban flooding, along with landslides and mudslides. Puerto Rico, you have the flood watch in effect right now, which is basically telling you to prepare for flooding. Don't say, oh, another flood watch. The larger system going to have a longer term impact, so prepare for flooding. You need to get to stores and get things, and you know you have to cross across a low bridge or a low road to get there. Go there now, tonight, in the morning, and tomorrow afternoon will be too late as these showers and storms start to move in. Tropical storm conditions are possible for portions of the northern Leeward Islands, where tropical storm watches are in effect, beginning on Saturday as the core of Erin passes to the north. Okay, so that's good. It's going to pass to the north of the islands. But gusts to tropical storm force are possible in rain bands over portions of the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico later in the weekend. You'll get the rain first, and then you could get strong tropical storm force wind gusts. That's between 39 and 74 miles per hour. Now, while the threat of direct impacts in the Bahamas and along the east coast of the United States appears to be lessening, there is still a significant risk of dangerous surf and rip currents along the western Atlantic beaches through next week. Be watching where Erin takes a turn. I'm pretty confident it's going to take a turn, and it's not going to hit the Bahamas, not going to hit the United States. But it's going to come close enough to generate those waves that are going to cause very strong rip currents. Listen to your lifeguards. Watch those flags. Interests in Bermuda. You should continue to monitor the progress of Erin, since there is still a risk, strong winds, heavy rainfall, and high surf by the middle part of next week. The wind field for Erin is going to increase, maybe beyond the current forecast wind field, which pushes more water, more surge, more waves, both to Bermuda, both to the United States. So next week is going to be a very impactful week along the coastline of the United States. We'll be monitoring where Erin is moving all the time. We'll be back tomorrow with another update for the All Hazards Consortium for you watching. And if you have questions, feel free to submit questions there on the YouTube channel, and we'll do our best to get to answering them. So that's it for this update. I'm Dave Jones with Storm Center Communications and GeoCollaborate. Appreciate you watching this update. Please watch out for yourself and watch out for your neighbors. We really do appreciate it. See you tomorrow. Safe.